I call a thought a narrowing funnel, because what a thought is you're taking the field of what you know and you're distilling it down to a point. So thinking is like a distillation process. Intuitions, on the other hand, feel like an expanding funnel, which is I open myself to receive information that's greater than my mind can know.
In this episode, I sit down with Colin Matthews, a gifted medical intuitive, to explore the anatomy of energy, the power of sensitivity, and what it means to live with deep inner alignment.
I believe ailments are offerings of empowerment. When we get an ailment, it's our body's way of saying, whatever you're doing isn't working.
We dive into the differences between intuition and trauma, how to strengthen your inner yes.
A common trauma response is to brace. So you'll guard, you'll tighten, your breath will constrict. If I'm experiencing those things, yeah, that's not first knowing, that's protection first.
And what it really takes to walk the path of spiritual entrepreneurship.
Spiritual entrepreneurship is the journey of self-actualizing in a way that you can be in greater service to the world.
Whether you're curious about developing your own intuitive gifts, or simply looking for a deeper conversation about how to live a more aligned life, this one's for you.
You've helped a lot of people, from what I can see from the testimonials and from everything I see on your website. To begin, I'd like to know, what is a medical intuitive and how do you help people?
So a medical intuitive is somebody who uses a person's name, first and last name, and their age to both get permission from the person and a coordinate that I use to tune in and receive images, symbols, feelings, awareness to support them in understanding their life journey, where they're investing their energy, where they're losing energy. The reason it's called medical intuition is because part of the teaching behind medical intuition is that we invest our physical being in the beliefs and strategies that we use to meet the present moment. So for example, if you are hesitant or fearful, there's a good chance your shoulders will be like jumpy or ready to brace on some level. Or if you are guarded, you'll protect around your heart, or prideful, you'll overly step up. And these investments come at a physical cost. And so what a medical intuitive is good at, which is what I do, is picking up on those investments. So getting a sense of like, oh, you're clenching with your right jaw. It's you're bracing for something. You're churning ideas around in your back of your throat. And there's a spectrum. Like some medical intuitives are like, you have throat cancer. And some medical intuitives, which is more the spectrum I'm at, goes, you're churning ideas around and around in your throat. And so it's really to help people like you get a sense of where they're investing their energy, what's working, what's not, and what's coming at a cost.
What's the internal process like for you?
Yeah. So when I tune in, I don't know if you've ever heard of the clairs. There's the clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. And so I have several clairs that are quite strong for me. One of the strongest ones is claircognizance, which is where I just know things. It's like, oh yeah, you don't believe this is going to work out. And it's like I'm having a conversation with you when I tune in, and I feel it and I know it. And so I write it down. And actually, that's a part of medical intuition as well, too. I do my readings before I meet with the person, and I send it to them ahead of time so they have a chance to look through the notes, make sense of it. It's actually a helpful way to develop trust as well, too, because most of the people I work with I've never met before. And so we have no relationship, and it gives them a sense to go like, oh, this guy really gets me, or not. I mean, there's been a couple times in my life that I haven't gotten somebody, but generally what I receive seems to be quite accurate for people. And so it's like I'm having a conversation with somebody when I have the claircognizance is happening. Clairsentience, like I do get a lot of kinesthetic information in my body. So I might feel in my body, my left side of my stomach brace, or my chest be tight and I can't breathe. And so I will write that down and very clearly articulate what my experience is like with connecting to somebody's energetic body or energetic anatomy to convey to them what's going on. So it's like a conversation, basically.
Sounds like an amazing superpower. So do you ever, like, let's say you have a disagreement with someone, would you ever like tune into them to see how they're feeling about it?
Do you mean like a personal relationship disagreement? Or?
Yes, a personal relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm not triggered, it's much easier to do. If I'm triggered, I always this is one of my favorite teachings is this is you and this is the other person, and we're trying to do this. And hopefully when I'm tuning in, I'm finding my point of integrity so that I can feel whatever's happening in that person, in that space. But when I'm connecting with somebody and I'm triggered, I'm out of my integrity. I can't tell if this is happening, if this is happening, if this is happening. I don't know. So I'm not as effective at tuning in and using that information effectively. Having said that, when I am in my center and whatnot, yeah, it's incredibly helpful. I used to be a kindergarten teacher, and I went and did a 10-day meditation retreat over my summer holiday. When I came back, I was so much more in my integrity. And instead of the kids being irritating in class, I was like, oh, you're troubled by this. Or, oh, you're hoping for this. And it just made life so much easier because there's more information to work with.
That's amazing. And tell me, is this like a special gift that you have that you've harnessed, or do you think anyone can harness? Do we all have it? Can we all harness our abilities?
I think it is to degrees. It's the same. Think of intuition like one of your sensory organs. There are some people who are master sommeliers. They can smell the terroir of the grape. They can identify the level of tannins or the year the grape was produced. Some people get drunk, but we all taste the wine. And so with intuition, I believe we all have it. I refuse to see this as a special gift. In fact, I've done a whole lot of anti-special training because there are people, when they recognize they can tune in, they're like, oh, I know this. And it sort of creates a hierarchy, which I'm not comfortable with. I would rather be a human associating with a human. And so I just happen to have a really good sense organ. And so it's something that I can support. And it's actually something that I teach people. I've mentored people to tune in, access their intuition, because we all receive in unique and different ways. My method of reception is likely different than yours. And I think we receive in the way that serves us best to serve others. And so like I can handle the lightning bolts of like really clear, direct information. Whereas for other people, that might be upsetting because we don't live in a world where you get to know stuff about people out of nowhere. So, but yeah, I think everyone has intuitive gifts. I think the degrees vary, and it's really delightful to harness yours because it's more information. We're born to use our extrasensory abilities to guide us to our happiest, fullest being.
For anyone who's listening and wants to tap into their intuition, could you give us like a tip on how to start that process? What is your intuition and what is my mind that's just going?
So first of all, thoughts feel different than intuitions. Like when I have a thought, it always feels, I call a thought a narrowing funnel. Because what a thought is you're taking the field of what you know and you're distilling it down to a point. So thinking is like a distillation process. It's a narrowing. And so when I have thoughts, I feel my forehead scrunch a little bit, my sight narrow. And so when I'm doing a reading on somebody, when it's a thought, I feel a tightening happening around my sixth chakra area. And so, and actually, if I'm doing a reading and it feels like a thought, I'll put a question mark beside it because I don't trust my thoughts the way that I trust my intuition. So I don't mind acknowledging my thoughts, but I don't trust them in the same way. Intuitions, on the other hand, feel like an expanding funnel for me. So it takes the field of what I know, and then it opens up into something greater. And so actually, if you look at my logo on my website, it's an expanding funnel above my name, which is I open myself to receive information that's greater than my mind can know. And that feels a certain way. It reminds me, if you've ever been in the prairies or somebody where there's a huge sky, it feels like that. And so, and often when I get strong intuitive feelings, my body even like nods. I get like a yes sensation. And so first one, see if you can feel the difference between a thought and an intuition. And then the second one is trust the first thing that comes to you. The phrase that I like to use is first knowing, second guessing. When you second guess yourself, it's because you've gotten an intuition, but you don't want to admit it. You don't want to acknowledge it. It's too threatening. And so you'll second guess it in hopes that that's not true. But if you just start listening to the first knowing and giving it weight and value, it will start to amplify. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm wondering though, so much of the first thing that comes to our minds might be a trauma response or from a previous, like let's say we've had a previous negative experience. And so, every time I see someone in a red shirt, I get triggered and I want to recoil. How would I know whether that's just my trauma or my intuition?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. And it's true. I've done a lot of work to be an open vessel. So often my first response is not a trauma response. Actually, and that's the nice thing with medical intuition. One of the fundamental teachings of medical intuition is the less you know, the more you know. When I have somebody's name and age, I have nothing to bias me. I don't have someone in a red shirt that I'm triggered by. I don't have a face that looks like a friend of mine. I got a name and age. And so really whatever comes to me is unbiased. And so I actually find it easier sometimes to do readings when I have nothing to go on. So now I'm seeing the person with the red shirt. Part of it is to know thyself, know your triggers, know what's going on. Physically, what happens when you have a trauma response? You're going to brace your body. Well, there's a bunch of different trauma responses. A common trauma response is to brace. So you'll guard, you'll tighten, your breath will constrict. You'll feel a desire to like shield yourself on some level. And so if I'm experiencing those things, yeah, that's not first knowing, that's protection first. And so that's the perfect example. Here is what we're trying to do when we're doing an intuitive reading. But if you're in a trauma response, you can't tell what's going on. And so part of it is to know thyself so that you can get into a clear, open space so that it's okay. But this is the no symbol. I don't know if it's different for different cultures in the world, if this is a global universal, but when I get the
and you're shaking
type of sensation.
I'm just speaking for people that are listening, that would be listening on audio only. So you're shaking your head, and that's no in most cultures.
Yeah, exactly. Like shaking your head side to side is a no. When I feel that, either that tells me I'm off or I'm somehow resisting, bracing, removing. Like, break it down to the most simple things. Like, yes is an attraction. It's like, I want this. I'm moving towards it. No is moving away, or bracing. Our intuition is designed for that. Should I eat this food or not? Is this a poisonous berry or not? If you're like, I don't know if I should do this, there's likely a reason if you're clear and open. So part of the work that I've done has been a lot of self-purification, clarification, healing, so that I'm not getting in the way when I'm receiving information.
It sounds like you also need to get out of a state of anxiety, because I know so many of us live like that. So it sounds like in order to connect with your intuition, the first step would almost be to let go of your anxiety in your body.
Well, here's the double-edged sword in that. Often anxious people are sensitive people. And so I don't want you to get out of your sensitivity. In fact, one of the statements I make with many of my clients is, and they'll have been accused throughout their lifetime of being too sensitive. Oh, you're just too sensitive, Sedev, or whatever. And my statement would be, you're not too sensitive. You're not enough in your sensitivity. In other words, when you are in your sensitivity, you can utilize that information. When you're too sensitive, that's like saying you're overwhelmed by your sensitivity. So anxious people, my hope is to harness or redirect that sensitivity in a way that serves, as opposed to one that blocks or fries your awareness. And that's why I think the most important thing to do to harness your intuition is to develop self-esteem. When you have a solid self-esteem, you know yourself, you know your boundaries, you unconditionally support and love yourself, or even in failures, you can hold compassion. You're not going to take yourself down in the same way that if you lack self-esteem, that you make yourself the problem, or you somehow self-attack, because that absolutely interferes with your ability to receive.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Sometimes I've come across people that are sensitive when it comes to they're sensitive to their own feelings, like they'll be easily offended, but they're not sensitive enough when it comes to other people. So they may not be considerate. Do you ever encounter
Yeah.
that? And would that be someone that would have this gift of sensitivity and intuition? Or is that someone who's just self-absorbed?
I mean, it could be someone that's self-absorbed, but what I would say is this: we're not born with self-esteem. No one is. It's something that's developed. We cultivate it over a lifetime. And in the development of self-esteem, if you were like me, I didn't know that I had needs as a young human being. I was like, oh, you're upset? Let me help you. Oh, this person needs this thing done. I'm going to do that. I was almost more like a slave in that I would see, feel needs and react to them as though I had to. And that's not helpful because I'm not in my agency when I'm doing that. There's a reaction to that. There's a not acknowledging or creating space for myself. And so in the development of self-esteem, oftentimes the next stage is to become aware of your own needs and potentially become aware of your own needs at the cost of acknowledging someone else's needs. So I don't want to do that. I don't really care what you want. I just know that I don't want to do that. And so as a developmental stage, attuning to your own needs, being self-aware or highly sensitive towards yourself while not being able to acknowledge other people's feelings, I see that as a developmental stage. If you get stuck there, yeah, that's problematic because we're meant to co-create. That's not this. That's you pausing at a point and lacking that ability to meet somebody where they are. And having said that, though, once you do know your needs, it's so much easier to take into consideration someone else's needs.
Previously in our conversation, mentioned energy anatomy. What is that?
So energy anatomy is the anatomy of your energetic investments. So we are spirit in form. So we are unlimited energetic potential in dense physical matter. And in that stepping down our energetic potential into dense physical reality, we utilize our physicality to express our energetic potential. And so how you express things, like you ever got a lump in your throat or like you dry in your mouth, you can't speak all of a sudden, that's telling me that as your unlimited spirit is coming into form, somehow you're doubting your ability to use your voice. You're questioning the value of what you have to say. You're not trusting or believing you're going to be heard or understood. And that's going to express itself in your throat. Or similarly, we're designed to take in life, absorb the things that nourish us, release the things that don't nourish us, and then do it again and again. And so if you're holding on to things, that's going to affect your digestive system. If you're not absorbing what serves you, you're going to have an overly fluid digestive system. And so energy anatomy looks at the physicality of everything. Your spine, your low back is the foundation of your support. Your upper back is where you carry things. And so to understand energy anatomy, so if you were to have a physical ailment, like, do you have anything physical that's troubling you right now that you'd like to address?
I do. I have like this pain in my left shoulder blade, and it's recent. It just came up, I would say, last week.
Okay.
And it's just not going away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just tuned into you a little bit there. Is that okay if I do that?
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. So the left side is our feminine side. The right side's our masculine side. The shoulders are what we use to carry things. So if I was to say, Sadev, here's what I'd like you to do today, and you believe you could do it and it's a reasonable task, you'd be like, okay, I'll do it. But if I said to you, hey, I'm going to give you more than you can do today, and I really need you to get it done today, your body will instinctively go, oh, I have to carry more than I can carry, and your shoulders will start to brace. So right away, as soon as you do that area there, which is your upper trapezius, that to me is saying, I believe I have to carry more than I need to carry. I'm taking on more than is mine to take on. The masculine principle is I prove my worth in the world. So if it was on your right side, it would be, I don't believe I can do enough. The left side is more like, if I don't do it, I won't be loved. If I don't take on all that I need to do, I won't be enough. I won't be loved. The world won't receive me on some level. Does that resonate at all?
Yeah, it does. Actually, it does. I've had a really hectic couple of weeks. Yeah, so that makes total sense. Could you tell us, like, what are the kind of common issues that you see people manifesting physically, and just to get a sense of, I guess, for people listening. So maybe if they have something similar, they know they're not alone and that it's quite a common thing that other people are dealing with.
Yeah, I would say probably the most common one is issues around the mouth. And specifically the jaw, like TMJ or grinding teeth, and the mouth is where we take things in. And so when I get jaw clenching or bracing, it's like rather than taking in life experience, there's a negative anticipation of what's going to happen. And so there's already, instead of being like, I wonder what's going to happen, it's like, oh, I hope it's going to be. And so that almost predetermination of a negative outcome expressed through the jaw. And so I see a lot of jaw issues. And so part of the work that I do, because what do you do with your shoulder, for example? Like what I crave is more breathing into your heart, because heart is where we feel trust. And yeah, that's good. And as you breathe into your heart, you're saying, I trust that I don't have to take on more. But as soon as you start doing that, it felt like you went into your stomach there a little bit, which the stomach is more connected to our self-esteem and our ability to cope or deal with things. I like self-esteem, referring to self-esteem as trust in our belief in ourself. Like it's having a strong belief in self. So if you go, yeah, but what if I can't, I haven't been able to, or I have yet proved to myself I can do this, that'll often land in your stomach. So digestion's huge. Yeah, especially with women. I see a lot more digestive issues these days. I think women, feminine in the world is trying to be so many things. And instead of being reasonable about what you can or can't do, there's the thought that you need to do everything or else you are not enough. And that just lands in the stomach. I watch movies from the 70s and women's stomachs look different to me than they do now. I think women or feminine is trying to be too many things right now, or believes they have to be too many things, and it's coming at a huge cost. So that's a big one.
Yeah. The media has a lot to do with it, and social media as well, because there's so many. I don't even know if it's real, to be honest, just what you see on social media and what people are doing. And everybody looks like they're super mom or superwoman, basically. And that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And it's not a full picture. And I don't think it's accurate. It's a snippet. It's easy to crop things out and tailor life, but it's not authentic in that way. I heard a theory once that we were more connected when we lived with our windows wider open and we could hear our neighbors fight. It's like there's something about, getting more of the fullness of life that helps us to stay connected to our humanity.
Yeah, connected to our humanity and connected to each other even, because there's like a vulnerability there. And like now, okay, well, not everyone's life is perfect. I think loneliness is a big issue in young people these days. And I don't know if you see that where you are.
I massively so. There's a part of me that would love to put a course together on how to make friends, or put a course together on meet with like-minded spiritual people, because it's huge. And I work a lot with clients in remote communities, and I feel like that exaggerates it even more, because it's not like, in the city where there's a huge number of people there, you're the sensitive one in your community somewhere, and there isn't necessarily this huge swath of people to draw from to make connections. And then that creates feelings of isolation. And yeah, loneliness is one of the biggest things I deal with right now as well too. Yeah, that's a huge one.
Let's say I have like the pain in my shoulder that I talked about. If someone has a pain or a particular ailment or a digestive issue, how can they tell what their body is saying to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ailments have flavors, and this is a belief. It's not necessarily something that I've evidenced enough yet, but it's something that I believe in, which is I believe ailments are offerings of empowerment. So when we get an ailment, it's our body's way of saying whatever you're doing isn't working, and whatever will create the healing will support you. So for me, for example, breaking my neck as a child, what has that healing process been? I do yoga every day. I might miss one day every 2 weeks. And I do yoga every day because it helps me with pain. If I don't do yoga every day, I'm in more physical pain. And so part of the healing that my accident as a young person has asked of me has been to have a regular, introspective, tuning in, embodied practice. I'm not inherently a disciplined person, but pain has made me incredibly disciplined. And so I feel like in terms of empowerment, the need to get out of pain and the need to get out of pain such that I've become masterful in how I work with my body has been just such a delightful part of my journey. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. I don't want anyone to break their neck. It's horrible. It hurts. And yet at the same time, to heal that, and by healing, I don't mean to not have pain. And by healing, I don't mean to not have the ailment. By healing, I mean to heal. In other words, to have a relationship that's expansive with whatever that ailment is. Because I think we can heal in a terminal illness. And that might mean the end of our life, but it means that we can be expansive in our relationship to that. It's one where there's more of an embrace of reality as opposed to a brace or a withdrawal from reality. So ailments have flavors. Your shoulder, if you really tune into it kinesthetically, feeling wise, it will have a flavor. I do feel that in your jaw as well. That's on there, which if you tune into that, it will tell you something. It will let you know, like, what does it feel like? And you can ask that, well, what do you need? What would feel good? What do you long for in this pattern? I'm guessing relief might be one of the primary longings in that discomfort. How can you get relief? Well, I need to just get these things done and then it'll be okay. Well, hold on. Is that actually going to be how you're going to get relief? What if there's more inherent trust in the process? What if you actually develop better boundaries and only take on that which is yours to take on and learn to discern? Like, one of the gifts of being a homesteader is there is more than I can do. Like, if I woke up at 4 a.m. and went to bed at 10 o'clock every night and worked on the property all day, every day, I could not get everything done. And I think that's a gift because it empowers me to discern, so what can I do? And what do I need to let go of? The forest doesn't care if there are dead branches hanging. It doesn't care. I care, but it doesn't care. So I can learn to let that go on some level. So you have an ailment, tune into it. What is it craving? What is the flavor of that? What might provide healing for that? It may be like for me, I learned yoga. I learned how to practice skillfully, enough so that I could teach people how to practice skillfully. And that's deepened my relationship to myself. That's in the healing. And your shoulder, it might mean tuning into, where am I investing a large portion of my beliefs, especially in terms of shoulds. Because the shoulders, by the way, are another way to refer to the shoulders are the shoulders, where you have a should, what I should do, I should this, I should that. Your shoulders they don't love shoulds, they express shoulds. And then that's also a journey because it may not be obvious. You might need to go to 10 different experts, and that process of investing will reveal more information.
I want to talk to you about decision making. You help people make decisions with intuitive clarity. Could you talk about that a bit?
So I believe we're guided. I believe we have a higher self that sees the best version of us and longs for us to step into that. And so that's a resource for us to draw upon. Should I stay or should I go is the way I often phrase it, as like, yes or no, should I stay or should I go? And we're designed to be able to work with that intuitive information. The tricky part, and this is another fundamental teaching of following your intuition, most people ignore their intuition, not because they can't hear it, but because if they acknowledged what they heard, their life would change irreversibly, like significantly. I like to say that intuition is threatening, but threat's not a bad thing. Like, it's threatening rain outside. Rain's not bad. It just means you can feel it's going to rain. You can feel there's a need for change. And so with intuition, when you really tune into it, intuition doesn't care about comfort. Intuition isn't like, we want to make this the easiest journey for you, that's the most fulfilling, that everybody thinks you're wicked and awesome, and it's all going to work out. Intuition is like, we want you to be your most empowered self. And to do that, you got to end this relationship that's not serving you. You have to quit your job and go into the desert where you don't know what's going to happen next so that you can trust and hear something greater. So that process of clarity is not about comfort. It's about clarity and trusting in that. There's a reason Christ went into the desert for 40 days before he became the Christed being. It's because the desert, the only place there's nourishment is from within. And it's the same. Intuition is a nourishment. And so if you're in a desert, it's not an expression of cruelty of the universe. It may be an act of compassion to empower inner knowing for guidance so that you're not just acting out of habit. You're attuning and letting your attunement guide you, which at first can be really scary. Like when I first started doing readings for people, it was really stressful. I didn't know if what I was receiving was accurate. I was willing to take the leap and try it and trust and see what happened. And it's the same with intuition. Intuition really rewards risk-taking. I don't mean risky behavior. I mean willingness to trust.
So how can we attune to what's around us to get in touch with our own intuitive voice?
Yeah. So the first step is to slow down, is to inherently trust in your inner guidance. Like there is a whole shadow side to the intuitive arts. So many people will seek intuitive counsel because they want answers. What should I do? Tell me what to do. What do the cards say? What is the right course of action for me to take? And while sometimes I receive predictive information, I'm generally opposed to predictive information as a counselor because A, the present moment is always unfolding. And B, I don't know that that's actually the most empowering thing that a counselor can offer somebody. If you're just coming to me for solutions, you're not developing that skill within yourself, which as a business model is a really smart business model because you need me. You're going to keep coming back to me if you can't find it in yourself. As a self-empowerment strategy, it's terrible. It's not. We are meant to trust ourselves. I've gone through periods in my life where I really relied on intuitive counsel for answers. And the way that I would phrase that now is, tell me, here's what I'm thinking. Tell me what you're getting. Tell me, like, I sort of want this, or I'm thinking like that. How does that feel? And the person says, oh yeah, that feels pretty good. I'm like, okay. And so it's almost like I'm seeking validation more than direction. And that's where you have to be really cautious if you feel attracted to the intuitive arts. How much of you is wanting somebody to give you the answers? And how much are you wanting somebody to be an ally in your own decision-making process?
Because we don't trust ourselves.
Yeah. And understandably, I don't think we're taught to.
I want to talk to you about spiritual entrepreneurship. So I know when we spoke earlier, I understood something different, but I'd like you to explain what that means to you and how you help people with spiritual entrepreneurship.
For sure. I'm going to go about this one in a little bit of a long route. Is that okay if I do that?
Yeah, sure.
So the fifth chakra, which is your throat, is the center of willpower. And will has three fundamental phases. The first phase of harnessing our willpower is to be a good boy or girl, to be a good servant, to serve on some level. So as we were developing our first stage of willpower, it's clean your room. Okay, I'll clean my room. Do your homework. Okay, I'll do my homework. These in more countries where there is a dictator, that's a first will paradigm because it's basically somebody's telling you what to do and you're measuring your worth on your ability to do it. It's essential. If we can't, receive information and take action on that, we won't develop that first stage. The second stage of willpower is where we pull up our own bootstraps and we make something of ourselves. We actualize our desire in the world. And so the second stage is more connected to the entrepreneurial journey because the entrepreneurial journey is saying, what do I want? How do I make that happen in this world? Entrepreneurs are often deeply invested in the second stage of willpower, which is how do I self-actualize? How do I take my desires and make them into reality? Now, the shadow of the first stage of willpower is to be a slave, where you have no autonomy. You're dependent on the person to tell you what to do. That's kind of similar to the shadow of intuitive arts. You tell me what to do. the shadow of the second stage of willpower is narcissism. I just want what I want. I don't care about you. It's kind of like what you described about somebody who's highly sensitive, but not very, caring about the world around them. And so, yes, it's important to be able to self-actualize, but if you're out of connection to the rest of the world, you've now fallen into the shadow of the second stage of willpower. The third stage of willpower is the combination of the first and second stages. So, in other words, as a self-actualized being, I'm going to be in service to divine will or to the world or to something greater than myself. If you try to surrender to divine will or something greater than yourself, but you lack agency, you'll likely have an unconscious agenda guiding you. Like, I need you to think I'm wonderful so that I feel good about myself. Or
Right.
I need acknowledgement, affirmation to feel self-worth. That's the shadow in the third stage. If you lack the ability to care about people around you, like I say, the narcissism, you can't do it. The third stage, it's about standing on your own 2 feet and wanting to meet needs, to be in service. And so, to me, spiritual entrepreneurship is the journey of self-actualizing in a way that you can be in greater service to the world. And the reason I say it's a spiritual journey is if we're spirit in form, your spirit has a vision, is connected to possibility. And to make that real is the entrepreneurial journey. It's scary. It's easy to have an entrepreneurial vision, but to take that entrepreneurial vision and make it a collaborative, co-creative, valuable offering in the world is challenging.
That's so interesting because I see that there are definitely people that are entrepreneurs because they love to create, they love to build. And then I know that there are people that are entrepreneurs because there's almost a narcissistic element to their wanting to be an entrepreneur. I guess maybe because entrepreneurs are so praised in society, and so maybe that's why they want to embark on that journey. Some people want to do it because they want to be the boss.
Yeah.
Some people want to do it because they want to be their own boss. But not everyone just wants to be their own boss. Some people do it because they want to be the boss of others. So yeah, it's I'm interested to hear what you think of all those different types, and how does someone who's viewing entrepreneurship as a spiritual journey, how are they different in their approach to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, for sure. It's a great question. So and this is for you and anyone who's listening in, like, what do you want? Like, connect to your desire. Our higher self speaks through desires. Like, my accountant loves being an accountant. I have no desire to be an accountant, but I love working in the emotional realms and in personal development and growth. I feel at ease in that place. I feel full of life. So that tells me that my desire is unique to me, just as your desire is unique to you, just as all your listeners' desires are unique to them. And so when you attune to your own desire, like, what's that thing that you want? If you really acknowledge that, if you really give it voice, and notice I say give it voice, that's where the fifth chakra, your willpower, if you really want to invest willpower into what you're wanting to create, it's scary. Some people have great wealth. And so for them, the financial risk is not that. For me, I had no money. Like, I opened my first yoga studio with $2,000 in the bank, which anyone who's an entrepreneur, you invest, a couple $100,000 in your leasehold improvements, and then you have $2,000 until you're profitable, is not a wise decision. It's insane. And somehow I got through it. Although when I walked into the space that was my studio, I had this. It's interesting.
You were nodding, like your body was nodding.
I owned 4 yoga studios over my 16 years of yoga studio ownership, and only in 2 of them did I get this. And those were the 2 that were the most profitable, that succeeded. And I remember the one studio I opened, I was like, this is a good idea. The rent's a good price. The location's good. This is a good idea. And the phrase I got from that is good ideas never are. But the studios where I got the nod in my head, they felt good. And they're the ones that were the most successful, that I generated the most income from, that had the most vibrant communities. It was really helpful. So you have a desire. If you really attune to your desire, are you willing to actualize that, to invest in it, like literally invest in it? Like, I've worked with entrepreneurs who want to start a business and it's like, okay, let's put some money on the table. They can't do it. As soon as there is a need to literally invest, they back out. The idea is attractive, but the investment into the idea is frightening. And so one of the first stages in that entrepreneurial journey is getting comfortable investing in your idea. And if you don't want to, that's not saying you're a coward. It might mean that there's not enough in you to actualize that. Like for me, when I had that entrepreneurial vision, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I felt all in. I didn't even question that it was going to not work. I was just like, it's what I want. It's who I am. I'm doing this. And so I felt a tremendous amount of courage going into that. So if you're hesitant, it could be that you're afraid, and it could be that you're not yet ready to make that next step. The type that I'm most interested in the entrepreneurial journey are those who have a longing to create something and either have a fear of doing it or don't trust in their ability that they can actualize it, or get cooked on the journey of trying to make it happen, more so than those who want control and to be bosses and things like that. Like they're likely to succeed in a way more so than the type of entrepreneurs I was just talking about, because they're not self-reflecting in the same way. There's a more of an entitlement to it, which I actually think entitlement is important. Like the people that I mentor in intuitive arts, one of the things that I say is I feel entitled to receive the information I receive. And I don't mean entitled as in I deserve it. It's that I've given myself the title because I've proved it to myself. So I have entitled myself to do this. Can you entitle yourself to create your desire in the positive way? Entitled is a sticky word, but if you can get the positive version of it, it's really helpful. So I'm really interested in the people that are afraid to actualize. And actually, I'll give you an example of how it's a spiritual journey. It's astonishing how many entrepreneurs, I'd be curious if you have entrepreneurs listening to this, have gone through this stage. I call it the I want to join the army stage, because I had it too. What is the army? The army is the pinnacle of the first stage of willpower. Tell me what to do and I will do it. I am a soldier and I take orders. And I know for me, when I was like, should I advertise or not? Should I discount this or not? Should I, give free passes away or not? Like when I was trying to build my business and I didn't know what to do, I just wanted somebody to tell me what to do. And so there was a strong part of me that was like, I just want to join the army. Tell me what to do. And I've met many entrepreneurs who have wanted to join the army. Can you relate to that at all?
So I've been in business since I was 21. And what happens is that I just love building. So I love to build it. And then when it comes to like the everyday, so now the business is going and it's now the everyday stuff, right? And it's hard. It's hard because initially you're not making money and you're just like banging your head against a wall. And all of that actually is quite fun for me. So navigating through that. But then there comes a point where it's just hard and you've gotten over the worst of it, but it's not easy yet, but it's not that hard either. Mm. And I find that in that phase, I want to go get a job.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired now and I want to go get a job because I remember thinking at 21. So the business I was in at 21, by the time like it started making a profit and started doing well in about 2.5 years, it was doing well already. And then I just felt like, oh my God, like I see everybody else who's my age and who has a job, like a corporate job, their life is great because they get to go home and they get to rest. And they're not working in the middle of the night trying to coordinate with overseas suppliers, or they're not thinking about it all the time and living it all the time. And actually in the journey of entrepreneurship, I don't know if you've experienced this, I'm sure you have, is that you're always building something new or different. So it doesn't stop at like just, it looks like it's one business, but within that business, there's always new opportunities or the market is going somewhere. So you're always creating. And after a while, it's, I get tired. So I feel like at that point I start getting tired and I'm ready to like, okay, maybe not this business. Let's do something. Let's build something new.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. That could be, I'm aware that I've taken this creation as far as it can go and it's no longer serving. And so it's time to pivot and do something different. And so it could be that I want to be an employee. It's just simply hard to admit to yourself that you're at that next stage in the evolution of this creation. Like, not every venture is meant to go on forever. I remember there's a time where I was like, oh, I'm done with the yoga studio now. And I had many more years that I ended up working there. It's not that it wasn't fulfilling and enjoying. It was a little bit more of a grind for me then. And so the other side of that, though, is think of it in the same way as parenthood. The thought of a child, if you want kids, the thought of having kids is wonderful. I'm sure all parents can relate to this. The act of having kids is more challenging than you could have ever imagined, and also potentially more amazing, delightful, nourishing than you could have ever imagined. Those two things exist at the same time. And I like to take the phrase, anytime you're in a paradox, you're on the right path. Like, to me, the mystic is the person who resides in the paradox and sees the potential in that, or sees the divinity in that. And so it could just be that you're at a difficult part, and what you're meeting is the limitations of your belief in your ability, your belief in your worth, the belief in the world wanting you, of there being a place for you in this world. And so if you get to that place and you can't expand your view of your place in this world, you will hit a roadblock. And what you're saying when I want to be an employee is, I'm not a good enough boss to myself to go to the next level. So for me to really harness my ability, I need someone else to be the boss, because then I can really be all that I am. And so if you look at it as a self-esteem question is, am I aware that I've taken this venture all as far as I can, or do I need to be a better boss to myself to expand and take this vision to the next level? And that's not a straightforward path. It might be that you need more patience. It might mean that you need more hard work. It might mean you more inspiration. Likely it's not more hard work. That's the tricky part, is that we're so used to using will as a way to create, but there's so many ways to create, and will is just one of them. Go ahead.
That makes so much sense, because I don't think I had work-life balance at all. I had no life. It was just work. So we talked a bit about spiritual entrepreneurship as a spiritual journey, but you also help people become entrepreneurs as in offering spiritual services to people. Is that right?
Yeah. So especially in the mentorship programs for helping people to use their intuition to support others. So it's really about taking your intuitive gifts and utilizing them in a way that can support other people in a powerful way in the world.
And how do you do that? So what's the kind of training that you give people, or how do you help them in their journey?
Yeah, for sure. So I call them mentorship programs. I've run a couple of them. It's still a new offering. I'm actually currently working with a smaller group of ladies where I'm really trying to help each person understand how they receive information, what their intuitive abilities are, what their life journey is presenting to them. I meet with them to really help them to do this, to become themselves, to release the things that are impeding them. So it is that process of know thyself, because ultimately I think intuitive counsel is a third stage willpower. It's to be in service of the world. It's to harness yourself. And so you have to self-actualize, you have to develop the self-esteem, but you also have to be able to receive without fear. Early on in my readings, there was a couple times that I had clients that I found out later had cancer. And when I tuned into them, I got afraid. And I couldn't tell you what it was. I was just like, oh, I don't know. And so my readings were more vague and maybe not as precise as normally of what I would write, because I wasn't yet ready to interact with somebody who was dealing with a life-threatening illness. And so I couldn't be in service in that way. I got scared. I was threatened by it. As I've developed, how can I be in service of people who have dealt with incest, or people who have had severe trauma of some level, or dealing with a life-threatening illness? And I'm so much more comfortable with that now. And so part of that process as well, too, is to do that personal healing work, to be in service. I know we talked about in a previous conversation, the Netflix series Apple Cider Vinegar.
I was just going to ask you about that. And I was actually going to ask you if you've come across people who are wanting to be spiritual entrepreneurs, but are not really ready to do the work, and maybe they just see it as an easy way to make money or to be famous or something like that.
I don't ever see an easy way to make money or be famous as the desire. Having a power or a power that gives you value or worth, that definitely. I've seen many people who want to be spiritual guides for people because they want to have power. That's on one level really good. When I can share information with somebody that they're more connected to themselves and feel more clear and empowered in their life, it's the greatest feeling. The number of times I leave my sessions and I go to my wife and I'm just like, I love what I do. It's wonderful. So I can understand the desire for that power. But part of that is I want to be special. I want to be unique. I want to be valuable in a way that you can't take that value away. Like there's almost like a sustainability part to it. I've got something that you don't have. So I really work on clamping the special, but I do see people that want special.
But I guess what you're also saying is that you're saying that we all have it and we can all harness it. So I think that makes it a bit different. If someone wants to feel special, it's precisely because they're saying it's a gift and I have it and you don't. And I have information, you don't. And that's also kind of, I'm not saying every person who is that way is a charlatan, but that's also how we encounter charlatans, people that are, well, actually they can't explain. So you can explain. And you've previously even talked to me about the process you went through and how you doubted your own intuition when you first started doing it. So I want to talk to you about charlatans. And I think that as people are becoming more new agey and discovering spirituality or dipping a toe in there, you see a lot of courses being offered around the world. Actually, it's a huge thing. Like people are offering meditation courses and different kinds of therapies. And I'm always curious to know, because it's not like a medical certificate where you go to a university, you go to like a big name university and you know that there's tons of work behind it. And it's just like a really solid institution that has a lot to lose if they falsely give you a certificate. So because there's none of that, how do you know that the person you're going to is really indeed trustworthy and does indeed have a gift?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's a challenging one. Charlatans to me serve two purposes. One purpose is, how much are you giving your power away to somebody? What is your tendency? If you have an attraction for somebody to give you answers, to rescue you, to solve all your problems, you will definitely more prey to a charlatan. You're more prey to people with false information. If you trust in your ability to discern, if you believe that you are supported in this world in a way that's meant to empower your ability to guide yourself in your life, you'll be much more immune to the charlatan. So how do you know if you're a charlatan? First of all, look at your motives. Look at your motives. Are you wanting somebody to rescue you? Are you wanting somebody to give you your answers? If that's true, first of all, I'm not saying, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. I don't want to shame you in that. I've wanted answers in my life. I just know that when I want answers, what I'm saying is I don't trust myself. And so can you make, I want to trust myself, be the primary guidance system in you?
And you're saying that if you can trust yourself, then you can discern that very quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot easier to tell. And the other part too, to me, charlatans need this. They need there to be a hierarchy. And so do you feel that? Do they speak to you as an equal? Are they telling you what to do? Do they support you to discover for yourself what feels true? Like if there's no need for this, if you're just two human beings meeting each other and one might be more evolved in some ways, it will feel like that. So that's a part of trusting yourself. Good charlatans will say all the right things you want to hear, but that's likely if you can feel that longing. And that's the tragic part in this, is that there's a predatory part to charlatans. They are preying on people who have a genuine need. And in that, I feel compassion, because that's harder to tell, because there's a part that's empty that you're trying to fill.
What's interesting is that, like, in the series Apple Cider Vinegar, that series disturbed me so much, and it made me question so many things. And what's really sad is that I think that there is truth to all the spirituality, but what's really sad about that series is that I feel like a lot of people were becoming more open, and suddenly they've now become very closed. A lot of people have become very closed to any of this because of what they saw on Apple Cider Vinegar. But I feel like it's also a bit unfair, because how many other professions that we know have there been scary stories or stories of predatory behavior? Like if you look at even doctors taking out organs that they don't need to take out. We saw that testimonial at Dr. Joe's retreat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you remember? And then I want to talk about that as well. Yeah, we should talk about Dr. Joe. But we've seen that, and it's not like, and nobody's going like, oh, well, some people are, but most people are not like, oh, the whole of the medical profession is a scam. They're just saying, well, that doctor did a bad thing. And I guess it's similar with Apple Cider Vinegar. It's like, that lady did a bad thing. But I suppose what's difficult in that is that similarly, there are no, at least if a doctor does a bad thing, you can go to the board of the medical board and say, like, this doctor did this thing. And then the whole world knows that this doctor is barred from practicing anymore. But there isn't such a board for people that are in the spiritual arts. So I think that's a challenge, but maybe not today, but maybe someday there will be.
That would be my hope. I mean, it's part of what I love about it. I call it the Wild West, because it's not regulated. That I get to be creative and explore and really, I have such a longing to be in service in a positive way that, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but generally I trust my motives to serve other people. And so I love the entrepreneurial opportunity in doing this work, because I'm discovering things like, I would love to see in psychotherapy, intuitive counsel become a thing, because some psychotherapies are non-directive. They just say, like, how are you feeling? What do you want to work on? Tell me more. And all the psychotherapist does is help that person find answers. There's some psychotherapies that really work to analyze you and help you to understand. Intuitive counsel, you get the information without ahead of time. You get to discern for yourself what it means. And it creates a really interesting relationship. Like, what got me into medical intuition is, you mentioned banging your head against the wall. I got a huge bump on my head at one point in time. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I've got this massive bump sticking out through my hairline. And I was quite upset. So I called a medical intuitive. I booked a session. And right off the bat, she got on the call. She said, you're part of a community or family. You're trying to be seen, heard, and understood. Nothing you're doing is making any difference. It's like you're banging your head against the wall. And I said, oh, is that why I have a bump in my head? And she's like, yeah. And one of the communities that I was involved in, I was supporting, but they didn't care about me. And I knew that, but I didn't want to admit it. It was too threatening. I didn't want to admit it to myself. And so when somebody who didn't know me, didn't know anything about me, told me that thing, I was like, oh man, I got to make change. And I made massive change. My life was a whirlwind for a couple of years, and I'm so grateful. The bump was a call to massive change in my life. I bought my business partner out, took over the business that I didn't know how I was going to even run. It was a very transformative process, and having somebody share that information for me was deeply motivating. So I think there's something potent in that. And if it could become a regulated profession, while I'm wary of regulation, I'm also excited about academic rigor, like societal weight. Like, I'm not surprised. It's funny. I was listening to a podcast yesterday talking about, there's another Netflix series about a 13-year-old who kills somebody. I don't even know what it's called. Adolescence. And what this podcast was saying is, they feel like this show was put out there to make people afraid of each other more than to tell a story. And it's kind of the same thing with Apple Cider Vinegar, like to make people afraid. Like, I only watched the first episode. I couldn't watch anymore. And the main protagonist, who's the charlatan, yeah, what a manipulative, coercive, unself-aware narcissist. And I've met very few of those through my journey. That is not representative of the humans I've met on my way. I've met some beautiful, lovely human beings.
Yeah, me too. Me too, actually. But I think that with charlatans, I think that there will always be clues. And I think it's a good idea to spend time with someone before you do anything with them. You know, if possible, like try to have like a call or something just to, before you know, like commit to someone and totally put your trust in them. I think it's wise to spend some time with someone because your body will tell you whether if something's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the medical intuitive that I went to go see, one of the things that she did, which I'd like to put a money back guarantee on my sessions, because if it doesn't resonate, I don't want your money. You know, I do not want that. Like that's okay. And what she did is she said, you banging your head against the wall. I'm like, yeah. She goes, does that resonate? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, do you want to keep going or I can give you your full money back right now? Like at 5 minutes, she said, do you want to keep going or I'll give you your full money back right now? Like she kind of gave you that tune in time to go, does this resonate? And when I spoke to her about it later, she's like, I don't want to deal with somebody who doesn't want what I have to share or doubts my information. This is a very skilled human being. And
yeah,
they built that into the business model.
I've been wanting to talk to you about Dr. Joe's retreat. We both attended and where we met.
Yeah.
I think I've been really looking forward to this part of the conversation because I would love to hear your take on it. And then I'm going to tell you mine. But I'm so curious because you have a more like spiritual background. You've been in this work for a long time. So I'm curious to know, why did you decide to go to Dr. Joe? And how did you find the experience?
So it was my wife that wanted to go to Dr. Joe. And like I had seen him years ago in What the Bleep. And it was interesting. There's a side of the spiritual disciplines that really focus on manifestation. In that, I saw it more of like sort of the strong manifestation end, whereas I'm more interested in the mystical journey aspect of the process. And so I thought it was highly valid and interesting, but not enough that it like moved me to study with the man. And then my wife was studying his material quite extensively. I saw it having positive changes in her. And when she talked about it, everything felt like, yes, I just resonated with the teaching. So I was like, let's do it. And the retreat that you and I met at was his first 10-day retreat. And I love it. He's using academic rigor to try to back up what's happening through his work. And yeah, I took part in the study that he ran during the training. And I found that also very attractive. He's willing to back up his claims through academic rigor as well, too. So I did it because it felt good. Because I resonated with what my wife was sharing. I did very little studying of his work before going. But when I did the meditations, so powerful. When I listened to his teachings, so resonant. In fact, for the first 3 days, I almost couldn't sit still because a lot of the work that I do is on my own. And so I tinker. I feel sometimes like a mad scientist, and I've come up with these things. And so to go listen to Dr. Joe and have him say the same thing in his own words felt extremely validating. I think a lot of what he's saying is just so powerful and transformative. I loved doing it with 2,000 people. That really surprised me. I thought, people, whatever. There is something potent about collective consciousness coming together to study. I think he's the real deal. And I think his intent is pure. And he's charismatic and funny and engaging. He's probably one of the best teachers I've ever studied with. His ability to take complicated information and make it accessible to others, so powerful. I really, really liked it. In terms of what the teachings are that I resonated most with, so in my work, I say we're spirit in form. We're unlimited potential in dense physical matter. And when we limit ourselves to dense physical matter, we don't embrace our energetic potential. And that's very much what Joe is talking about.
Did you have any big changes that happened to you at the retreat or after?
Yeah, so I did. One was my meditation practice took off. I had meditated regularly years ago. And although I did a yoga practice every day, meditation, not so much. When I got back from Joe's, I was like, this works. And so my ability to sit in meditation every morning radically changed. And found it very nourishing. It's such an interesting potential. It's like, what is the most potent thing you could do to transform yourself? Dr. Joe? Nothing. Like, be with nothing. Don't act on. Like, just allow yourself to be in an open, receptive, non-reactive state. For me, that's been very potent, to be in an open, receptive, non-reactive state. It's a very receptive place, which for my work is quite supportive to be even more receptive. I would say my intuitive counsel work improved, and my clients, in fact, said as much, the ones I work with regularly, that you're not the same as you were before you went to Dr. Joe. So that was a really big transformation. And then the other one was, it was very confronting of my beliefs of limitations within my body. I have now mechanical hardware in my body after my accident. And so I've limited range of motion in my ankle. I basically have taken that as a conclusion. And after Joe, I'm like, why am I concluding this? You know, we met a woman there who grew 7 inches of rectum in her body after it was removed. And I sat and I had a nice long talk with her, and she basically said when she had her rectum removed, she couldn't hold anything into her digestive system anymore. And so she said, well, the only way I'm going to get through this is I have to grow a rectum. Like, she heard the words grow a rectum, which is what she did through meditation. And it's documented and medically affirmed and whatnot. Seeing her and hearing from her really made me confront where I have taken limited beliefs in terms of what's possible in my healing journey.
For me, this retreat was everything. I followed Dr. Joe for 3 years. He changed my life. He really did. And he's probably like the guy that made me question everything, that made me see that my analytical mind that was so prized, that I was so proud of, which I felt like it's gotten me everything, was actually keeping me from joy. And once I realized that 3 years ago, I feel like it changed my life. It changed my life. It changed how I saw everything. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast today. So I absolutely love Dr. Joe. Now, the retreat, on the other hand, was not what I expected it to be for me.
Okay.
It's probably what I needed, or what I need, because I'm still in the process, but not what I expected or wanted. So I expected that I'm going to go there because I've been doing all this work, and I'm going to go there and it's just going to be like the peak of my work. And then I'm going to break through to a new level. I've probably broken through, but not in the way I expected to. I found the retreat very challenging. I found it physically challenging, emotionally exhausting, because you're constantly confronted with things. The retreat itself, I mean, it was beautifully organized, I would say, with 2,000 odd, I think it was 2,500 or 2,800 people, something like that.
Yeah.
Tons of people from all over the world. It was so well organized. Everything was amazing. But what I did feel was that there wasn't enough support, one-on-one support, for people that may not have known that they would need that support. I was really struggling because there were people, I don't know if you remember, there were people that were screaming as they did the breath work because energy would move to their head. And they're in bliss, but to anyone listening, it sounds like they're terrorized. So for me, that was very triggering. I can't remember if we talked about it when we met, because we were sitting next to each other, but it was terrifying for me. So, you're deep in meditation and then somebody's screaming as if something really bad is happening to them. And when I went to speak to the psychologist about it, she wasn't very helpful. Like, she wasn't very receptive to it. She was just like, oh, it's just like, well, she kind of made me feel like it's just you kind of thing. So I wasn't very happy about that. But then subsequently, I met a lot of other newbies that had the same problem, that just couldn't get past the screaming because it was so... I feel like it's hard. We're hardwired to react that way when somebody screams, right? Like it's something bad is happening. But anyway, I think I did meet someone, it was a second time, and she was struggling as well, and then she got over it. So maybe if I do go again another time, I'll get over it. But at the moment, I'm not planning to, because since I got back, I've just been on such a journey. And I think you mentioned this as well, that I got really sick, but like really sick for really long. And a lot of people...
I got really sick as well.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that when they get back, they get really sick. But it's like a detox or like a purge, like your body is just processing. I found that it hasn't been easy. So I definitely don't feel like I've been in joy every day. I feel like it showed me that there's so much more work to be done. And it's also made me aware that it's not enough to do the meditations, because I was doing the meditations anyway, but it's not enough to do that. It's actually very important to be awake in your day. So conscious and aware in your every moment. and not slip back to those old habits and patterns of thinking. So I would say it has been transformational, but it hasn't been like the very pleasant, like I didn't have one of those, those testimonials that, like I just had this energy move to my head and then everything was fine and everything was great and I manifested everything I wanted. So I think I think the testimonials can do that. They can make you feel like that's that's what's going to happen at the retreat. But that's not the process for most people. I think often they just go there to realize how much more work needs to be done.
It's so interesting to hear your perspective, and I really appreciate hearing that because I live in the Wild West. So people hooting and hollering as they're going through this process, to me, just felt par for the course. Like, oh, of course, that's what's happening. In a way, when I'm doing intuitive counsel, that's what I'm associating with on a regular basis. Because I have such intimate connections with people on such a regular basis, I didn't find that confronting in that way. That was, to me, par for course. It's just part of, and I'm 52. I've done many different retreats with many people. And so Shakti experiences like that are familiar to me. But I also appreciate your awareness of the meditation is not enough. Like, interestingly for me, meditation is the thing that I wasn't doing. And so I'm not surprised that I took that away as the thing that was the most potent. I think one of the attractions of meditation is actually a dissociative desire, which is I feel safe in my meditative bubble, and having to figure out how to embody that in the world or bring that into relationship is where I struggle, I would go back again to self-esteem. Self-esteem is the ability to take that intimate self that you connect with in meditation and actualize it in relationship to the world. And that's something to develop. And so I would say that that's a good thing that got confronted, because I don't think we're meant to be comfortable in our bubble. We're meant to be in the world.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And that leads me to the dark night of the soul. I've been wondering since I got back, is this the dark night of the soul? And I know you help people through that. So I'd love to hear, what is the dark night of the soul? What does it look like? How do you get through it?
So the phrase dark night of the soul comes from John of the Cross, who was a Christian mystic. And he described it in a book called The Dark Night of the Soul, or it's a book that I have. I'm not sure what the initial source was, but I have the copy of the book. And what the dark night of the soul is, it's when all of the strategies that you have relied upon in your life to cope, to succeed, to get by, suddenly fail to function or work for you. Like, let's say hard work has been your resource, or letting go has been your resource. If that resource is no longer supporting your highest good, in an act of compassion, the universe will take that away from you. So that tool that is so attractive, that's so like you just lean into, gone. And it's going to feel like the universe doesn't give a shit about you, or is cruel, or is punishing you. And it's not. It's compassion. It's saying, no, you're too reliant on this strategy. There's a whole different way of being. And we need you to go into the darkness so that you can let go of that holding on to and open yourself to something different. Does that resonate?
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. Like all the strategies that I have, like my toolbox doesn't work anymore. I can't use those tools.
Yeah. And that's why it feels like a dark night, because you're like, I don't know what to do. All the skills I've developed in all my years of life no longer are serving. And so the typical prayer in the dark night is, get me out of here. And then the prayer that I would recommend is, what of me? Like, okay, what do you want of me? What is being cultivated of me? So if hard work isn't the one, what is it? Oh, I need more trust. Man, I lack trust. It's true. Hard work is a reactive strategy to fear, as opposed to a trusting engagement of my resources. And so the thing that's missing is the trust. And so in a dark night, until you can embody trust, if that's what the dark night is empowering, until you can embody it, you're going to be in the dark night. And so the prayer is, help me to receive whatever is being empowered through this act of grace. And it's just part of being human. We're not born effortlessly. We're born through this birthing process that is, at one point in time, was life-threatening. And so there's something in the birthing, the challenge in the birthing process that's part of humanity. I think that's a way for us, our energetic potential, to step down into matter, to like be okay with density. And Dark Night of the Soul, in a way, almost is a way of revealing our disbelief in energetic potential, or our over-attachment to density on some level.
So how would, if somebody's experiencing this or going through this, how do they navigate themselves out of it? Do you have any tips?
So the first one is to be able to acknowledge it. And I'm going to make a little rule. You're not allowed to acknowledge the dark night of the soul like you acknowledge Mercury in retrograde or a full moon or anything that says, oh, I'm allowed to be like this because I'm in a dark night. It's not permission to suffer. That is not what is there. Instead, it's to acknowledge it. Oh, something is being born in me. Something is waking up on me. And this actually goes back to spiritual entrepreneurship. Another phase in that empowerment journey is the on your knees phase. When you're brought to your knees, either it's because you're going to get your head cut off, or it's because you go, I can't do it on my own. Like, God help me, or universe help me. When you reach an on your knees moment, it means you're actually no longer standing on your own 2 feet, and you're now in a place of receptivity to receive information. You can only receive on your knees. You can crawl, but you can only really receive when you're on your knees. And so it's saying, okay, guide me. So the prayer in a dark night is, I am, number 1, acknowledge it. I'm in a dark night. Number 2, open. Okay, what of me? I'm willing, receive. And then let that come to you. That's why that intuitive reception is so important, because when you let it come to you, you can, if it was easy, you would have made that decision already. So that willingness to go, oh, I need to trust more, or it might mean I need to work harder. Like, yeah, for some people, that is actually what the dark night is saying, is you got to get off your ass and do something. And then to let that move you. And that's really the key. Let the guidance move you. How does that feel?
Yeah. So basically you're saying that you first acknowledge it, and you recognize that this is a great thing, because it means you're about to receive something. Yeah. You're on your knees. That means you're about to receive something. Yeah. And then thirdly, you're saying, okay, you have a prayer that's, let me receive what I need to receive. And it might be hard work. Like, it might not come immediately. It's going to come when you're ready to receive it. And I think that it probably comes when you truly cease trying your other tactics.
Yes. Yeah, you're being starved. You're being starved.
Yeah.
You're being starved.
Yeah.
You know, it's so, I mentioned earlier about Christ in the desert for 40 days. I realized that. I'm like, why didn't Christ go to the mountain or to the jungle? And actually, this is another common thing I see with clients I work with, is too many people I work with are willing to eat scraps instead of holding out for a meal. Like, when you're in a dark night, you will likely latch on to scraps. You'll take whatever little thing works, as opposed to going, I'm going to let this starve out. I'm not surprised that fasting is such a big thing these days, because it's like you're basically saying, I want a meal. I want a meal. I want to receive in a deeper way.
Amazing. Colin, how did you get to where you are? How did you come to this? It's not common. It's not very common to choose to explore yourself, to do the spiritual work and to do the inner work. And what attracted you to this field of practice?
Yeah, I really think it's a spiritual calling. I feel like it's part of what I was born to do in this world. And I think that the grace was first really empowered through my falling on my head. I think a lot of time head injuries are connected to intuition. I do actually, interestingly, my very first client was a concussion. And concussions, head injury, I feel like that is often connected to some type of intuitive awakening. There's a desire, you're getting rattled in hopes to stop relying so much on your brain to now also work in different ways. So I think part of what brought me to this was the desire of my spirit, my ailment as a child of falling on my head, and dealing with sensitivity. Definitely growing up was challenging for me, because I felt a lot. I was the kid that said the thing you weren't supposed to say. And much to the chagrin of the people around me, I would say I didn't always use it for good. I could be pretty unkind to people at times. You can ask my mom if there was anyone that I could dysregulate as quickly as possible as my mom, because I could say the thing that she was struggling with because I could feel it and see it and know it, and speak out about it. And so, part of it is wanting to use my words in a way that uplifts as opposed to take down. One of my shadow sides is using my ability to diminish people or take people down. I call it the takedown king. It's when I don't feel safe and I'll use my ability to try to diminish somebody, which is not something on one level, I'm proud of it because I love that I have that ability. And on another, I'm not proud because it never feels good to bring someone down. That's a power over somebody. It's actually what led me to study nonviolent communication, because I wanted to learn how to speak in a way that uplift, that honored what was true inside of me, but in a way that created connection. Definitely yoga is a big part of it. I taught yoga for years, and it was interesting. When I first opened my studio, I wasn't very qualified to teach yoga. I did a Bikram yoga training, which is like the least robust training you could possibly do. It's the opposite of the type of work I do. If any of you know anything about Bikram, he's the narcissist of the yoga world. So it's funny, I came into that. It was attractive to me to, the aggression of it, but I wasn't well qualified. And I would literally look at my students going, what am I doing here? And I started to say this mantra, which you can use and actually recommend it in a process of empowerment. I said, everything I need to know is available to me in this moment now. And so I'd sit there looking at my students like, what am I doing? Like, I know I'm trying to get them arms overhead and the thigh parallel to the floor and the feet grounded. And I know I'm doing it, but what am I doing here? And so I'd say to myself, everything I need to know is available to me in this moment now. And then I'm like, oh, they look collapsed in their heart. And I would go, actually started doing hands-on adjustments because I couldn't use my words to say what to do. I would just push their hips back and lift their chest up. And then all of a sudden they'd look open. I'd be like, oh, that feels really good. What am I going to do with this person? Everything I need to know is available to me in this moment now. And I said it and I said it and I said it. And then that just helped me to all of a sudden see needs in people's bodies all over the place and then interact with those needs in a way that helped them to find alignment that empowered the need or that balanced the need or supported the need on some level. And so I feel like it's been a natural evolution to do intuitive counsel because it's just taking that even more into the energetic. Intuitive is pure energetic. And so it feels right to do it that way.
That's great. That's a great story. So Colin, I feel like we can just keep talking and talking and talking. And I have so many questions for you. And maybe we can do a second part at some point. But it's been, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to. If any of your listeners have questions that they'd love to have answered, send them or post them. I don't know what the method for them to communicate with you. And we can do an question answer one because that's a great thing. Everyone has their questions, the thing that, what about? And I love exploring questions. It's such a fun way.
So we're going to leave your contact details in the show notes. And then if anyone wants to access you, they can. They're welcome to.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for being on.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Subscribing helps a new podcast like ours immensely. And until next time, don't be a sheep, keep questioning, stay curious, and never stop exploring the extraordinary.